What is up? What is up? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Robert Graves bringing you another episode of Year of the Vet. If you're a returning listener, thank you for tuning back in. I really appreciate those of you who are really engaging with me on Twitter, Facebook, the whole shebang. And if you're a first-time listener, welcome. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to entertain you today with a story from a veteran and his personal transition in his life into where he's at today. So, real quick, we're going to touch on the business part. That is, if you haven't checked out the website, www.yearofthevet.com, check it out. That's where you can find all the show guests, all the show notes. You can find links to my book, subscriptions, and just other places to help you on your own personal transition, if that's something that you're doing. Other than that, you can engage with me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all Year of the Vet, one word, Year of the Vet. And also head on over to the Year of the Vet online store and pick yourself up a t-shirt or a sweater to represent the fact that you, one, listen to the podcast, or two, you just like to represent that it is the year of you. That link can also be found on the website. And besides that, I think that's all the business. Who do we got today? Well, today we have another one of the most genuine dudes I've ever met, and another student of the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans. It seems like I'm promoting the shit out of them, but it's just that I met so many veterans from different avenues of life there. Why not bring them on to tell their stories? And man, this individual has a story. I mean, coming from the mean streets of Guadalajaran, Mexico, and immigrating to the United States around 5 years old, all the way to the silver screen. Yeah, this next guest has paid his dues, and he's worked his way from the background to the foreground. You may have never seen him as a backup dancer on sketch comedy shows. He's been a stunt man, but he doesn't really want me to say that. But how many stuntmen do I ever get on Year of the Vet? And now you may catch him sharing screen time with cast members you may know from shows you love, like Westworld. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Ozzy Ramirez. Ozzy joins us to talk about his 4 years in the service as an Army Scout Recon, 19 Delta. He talks about becoming the man of the house around the age of 16 once his father left. And, you know, he talks about patriotism and needing to join the service as an undocumented patron. We moved from the military into this transition into, you know, tossing the bottle back and how acting saved his life. So those are just some of the many topics that we talk about, but we really get in the weeds. Ozzy shares stories about, you know, how he got into martial arts by being a nerd. He talks about paying your dues in Hollywood and understanding that you're not entitled to success just because you're a veteran. He mentions that something that he wished he had done was save up some of that money that we get on the 1st and the 15th, those guaranteed paychecks in the military, and had started his own business prior to getting out, setting himself straight. He talks about his battle with alcoholism, and he talks about the stigma of having emotions as a man and how we need to break that apart. I do want to give you a heads up that Ozzy's connection sometimes goes a little dull. However, if you stick with the conversation, I promise you that, man, you're going to pull from it as much as I did for the second time and the third time going over this and scrubbing it for show notes and edits. And the fact that I feel I didn't do Ozzy justice enough with the quality of the sound of this conversation, it just burns a bigger and hotter fire under my ass to get sponsored and a no shit studio for Year of the Vet where I can invite individuals like Ozzy to come in and give you that just pristine quality audio for you to follow these conversations. But don't let that take away from this conversation. I just wanted to give you the heads up, and I want to give a big public apology to Ozzy for not having the quality studio that this story deserves. But when it does happen, Ozzy, you will be the first in the studio, or at least invited to it. So, with that being said, my key phrase, let's move right into the conversation between myself and Mr. Ozzy Ramirez. All right. So, Mr. Ozzy Ramirez, thank you so much for just gracing us with your presence, man, because you're a cool dude. let me tell you let me tell you a little bit about how I got to that mindset, right? So Ozzy and I met at EBV, the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans at UCLA, and Oz, the very first like moment I saw you, I was like, oh man, that guy's pompous, and you know, he's kind of just one of those vets that, you know, you can't get along with. But over time, dude, like super opposite. You are just the I mean, we had a conversation about pro sports that, you know, just blew me out of the water. You were like, I don't follow that stuff because, you know, we have stuff going on here in America that we don't pay attention to. And man, you super educated me on some stuff that you don't even know that you did on purpose. So I have this vision, I have this image of you when I speak about you as a very wholesome and down to earth and just real dude. And so I'm honored to have met you and crossed paths with you, and I'm honored for you to be a guest on You're the Vet and join the family.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Appreciate all the kind words. Yeah, I didn't know that. I portray that walking into the program.
No, it's not. It's not that you portray. It's that you've got so much. You know, when they see confidence, you don't know how to read confidence sometimes, right? Confidence can come off on two totally different ways. And
yeah.
And for you, like, it's just that you have this like this swagger about you. And I think that it plays well into what you do in your life. So before I ruin it all, like, let's just get into who pre-Army Ozzy was.
All right. Well, pre-Army Ozzy. Well, I was born in Mexico, in Guadalajara. So I was born over there. My parents immigrated over here to this country, to California, through the TJ border when I was 5, 6 years old, around that time. So my mom came over with the coyotes, like with the smugglers, like to smuggle us over when I was a young kid. And my dad came over with pennies in their pockets and just dreams, just like back in the old days from New York, and the boats coming with the Irish people and everybody just coming with a couple dollars and then just ready to put in work. And my dad just did construction, so I moved all around California every year and a half from that age till I was about 12, 11. When I was in the 6th grade, I kind of stopped. So it was kind of difficult to make friends or learn a new language and really connect with, I guess, Americans, because I was already learning Spanish at a young age and then getting thrown into learning this whole new language and different ways of things that are run here, especially in the school system, and then just feeling like an outsider. Like, because you got to learn English, and then my English was just choppy as hell. Like, so I was trying to get that going for a couple years. So it sounded like a Mexican.
When did you feel like you were fluent?
Not till high school, I would say, and even more until I got more into my profession now, that I really worked on my pronunciation, really hitting the I's, hitting everything, really learning how to project my voice in a proper way to sound American or sound like English and not with an accent or anything that most people want. Unlike me, when they want me to speak English, they want to hear the Spanish accent sometimes, and I've worked so hard to not have it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now I got to go back to that. I'm like, cause for my profession, I'm like, okay, I got to open up that suitcase and pull that out again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in Riverside and in the Inland Empire, and out there it's a just different breed of people. Lifted trucks. Everybody got, my people like to go have dirt bikes. They have boats. They like to go hit the sand dunes, the lakes. Everybody's a fighter, women and guys. My people don't take a lot of shit, and if they do, they're ready to throw blows for both sexes.
Yeah.
So, and then when I was living at the time, there was a lot of gangs, and like the city was kind of getting cleaned up in Riverside. So I had to deal with all that, getting bullied a lot. So martial arts started kind of taking it a little bit more seriously when I was in a younger age, because my mom put me into it because she was tired of seeing me coming home beat up. And she would yell at my dad because he knew how to box if he wouldn't spend time with me after construction or after work to teach me to learn how to protect myself.
Why were you getting beat up?
I'm just an odd duck, man. I just always, I guess, say the wrong things at the wrong time, and some people just didn't like that growing up, I guess.
Yeah.
They were just always trying to prove something, and then in the circles I was running, I was a nerd.
Yeah.
I'm like, I loved all the nerdy stuff. Like I was with the chess club.
Yeah.
I go play checkers and things like that, but then I also go play sports. So I liked everything, but then certain people didn't appreciate, especially like the cholos or the jocks that I'd be hanging out with the nerds and learning all this cool stuff about biology and crazy things.
Yeah, what do you think, you're smarter than us?
Huh?
Yeah, what do you think, you're smarter than us?
Yeah, that's what probably like this guy can't be playing sports and be taking over here. I'm like playing championship chess with other people. Like, nah, that ain't gonna fly. We're gonna beat you up in the boys' bathroom between periods, so then you go crying to your next period.
Shove this rook down your throat.
Yeah, so like all these movies or things about bullying, I was like, man, I went through all that. I'm like, I was that kid hiding around school because I know I'm like, the bullies were there waiting. They were just waiting to pick us off.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so martial arts, that's what started kind of giving me a little bit more confidence. I'm like, and kind of learning. From starting, I started doing karate and the boxing with Shotokan. I did some of that, Kung Fu also. So I dabbled into a bunch of different ones until I really sunk my teeth into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when it was just on VHS tapes, and I was renting them from the movie store around the corner of the house that I would walk to and get them, and me and my next door neighbor would just play it, put it in the TV, and just super slow, trying to learn the moves and all these things that this young guy named Hoist Gracie was just tearing up all these humongous dudes with different backgrounds in martial arts that he was just dominating. And I wanted to be that guy because I'm like, he's a small dude. I'm like, he's my size. Mm-hmm. I'm like, at the time, I was like, and he's making these 300-pound ogres, Dan Severn. I'm like, Frank Shamrock, he's tapping them out. And I'm like, and these dudes are massive. I'm like, so doing that, starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from watching those videos really opened my eyes to the possibilities of not being scared of people's body type or how do they look physically. Yeah. Because if they don't know anything mentally, then that physical I can take it apart brick by brick or just demolish it all at once if I need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, from being in that in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Ramel Dunbar over there in Riverside, I was only 14 years old, and my friend was 14. The next guy, too, in our age group was 23. So we were just going against the adults after school, Monday through Friday, just getting our butts kicked for a good year until we got, like, our first tap, until I got my first, like, arm bar on somebody finally.
So they weren't letting you get it. You had to earn it.
Yeah. I'm like, in this school, it's not like, I don't want to dog down, but some karate schools, like, they be giving belts out and things to keep the students and keep them coming back. But over here, if you weren't giving it 100 or showing that you know the techniques, that you know how to get it, they're not going to give it to you easily. Nobody in the class is. So you got to get it. Yeah. You have to get it 100%. And